We're live. It is Sam and Federico and Michael. Great to see Federico here at the website one kickoff meeting. Yesterday, actually, Brent and I, as a contrast, we were just talking about numbers in meetings. We did the local support meeting. We just had Brent and myself. I think partly because some people's power had gone out. We actually ended up focusing and just doing a retro on the local support thing. We've been with this meeting, doing is there a retro thing? There's not usually very many of us. There's voting on tickets. I guess, shall I just start off by asking, does anybody have any tickets for website one that they would like to get voted on? That sounds like a no. I've got one issue that I'm working on that I want to discuss because I think it brings up a lot of potential issues about the way we move forward.
So is this the memory leak stuff?
Yeah, this is related to performance,
Yeah.
and the structure of the system. We certainly could just, are there any, in a very informal fashion, any retrospective thoughts looking back on how we've been, running the website one project recently? You can see here, this was the local sport retro. There was Brent and I just took turns in expressing concerns and thoughts and so on. We didn't really go for a very strong structure, but we ended up with some nice action items.
So I noticed you put the depend-a-bot thing in there, and it's opened a lot of pull requests and made the repo look kind of messy.
Yes.
Like, because there's a lot of pull requests and they're open.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening on them, and actually the pull requests from like actual human beings has now been buried.
Right. Great point, Michael.
Has that affected? I know you mentioned that, like, let me make some time to try to get through these depend-a-bot PRs. Has it affected you, Sam, and like your reviews of like real humans?
I agree with Michael that it's both made things messy and it's made it difficult to find the PRs from real humans. I have merged a couple of depend-a-bot things, and I've kind of been meaning to get to more of them. But yeah, it's it's difficult when you don't trust the tests as much as you might, because it goes green. But yeah, if you were interested in reviewing those and getting them closed out, then that would be fantastic. Even if it's just one or two. I think, I mean, we've also got this thing of, it's good to get these things upgraded. I mean, I added this because of Robert was sort of raving about it for RFM. But yeah, it doesn't mean it's the best thing for every project. And certainly, yeah, that's a concern. Any other concerns about how things are going recently? I think my main one is with the performance.
Oh, I feel like nobody's necessarily working on this project except you.
Yeah.
At this point, maybe Praveen was doing something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's doing anything now.
He still has an open ticket that he's
trying to work on.
Yeah, he's not been in any meetings or scrums recently. I continue to interact with him on Slack. I think he's in the process of changing jobs. But you're right that I think I'm the only one really put. If we look at the closed things. Oh well, no, Sigu. They're right. I mean, it's like, I mean, Sigu got an important PR done recently. We moved over to the Agile. We're saving $21 a month by moving over to the Agile bot in Ruby code. I've also rolled out.
Oh, it says Laura did something too.
Yeah, Laura got the user ID for Google Analytics thing.
Yeah.
So there are other people collaborating, but I'm certainly doing the most out of the people who are contributing recently. The other key thing that I got in was we now have the ability for a user to add their credit card details, even if they never had they never signed up previously, and that's we can now use to like convert sponsored people who were previously sponsored into paying users. So that's a little quick review of our recent successes.
So I just want to note that I think it's unfair that I don't get any credit at all for my revision of the Getting Started page, because it's with the Mercury editor.
That is a deep injustice which we can rectify now. That's true. So that wasn't a pull request, although you added a thing to like store the image in there, which
yeah, that's right. I forgot I did that.
But yeah, so we have updated the Getting Started pages to be a sequence of getting started pages now.
Would you like that like written somewhere on the internet that you did that?
Well, it is now written. This is live streamed. Anybody around the world, it's gone into good. It will be forever in the mind of the robot overlords when they come, because it will be part of the Google training data. They will not be able to forget that this particular contribution, which is a great contribution. We've got this video showing the step by step, which is fantastic. In my mind, I was reflecting that I'm still continue to be torn between the two things, which were also the things that came out in the design sprint, which is one, trying to improve the way we present what we are, and then two, trying to improve the scaffolding that we give people as they come on board. And my own internal conflict came down again the way it did in the design sprint, which is, the site's got to run. We've got to be able to deliver the initial message, like performantly and clearly, and before we try and start getting more people. I think that's the sensible priority. Oh, Sigu's here. Hey, Sigu. Good to see you. We were just doing an impromptu retro because no one had any tickets that they wanted to get voted on. Just looking. Yeah, I don't know that there's. I mean, there's one or two that we could vote on, but yes. Sigu, I guess can you hear us okay at the moment? I guess maybe not. Feel free to use chat to offer any retro notes. I think Sigu and I got started on trying to set up a Jitsi server on Azure, which we're sort of partway through, not completed yet. But Michael and Federico, any other retro notes?
Could you remind us what you did last week on your ecosystem reviews? I'm trying to. Do you recall?
This week I was working. It ended up being all on performance. I think last week was. I think it was. It wasn't the credit card update, because that's what I did on the Sundays. I do not recall offhand.
Yeah, me neither.
We do have we do have the historical record.
I was just joking about the recognition. No need.
Yeah, no. Well, it's a standard ongoing thing in the background. Well, I guess what I'm tempted to do with the time remaining is tell you about this performance issue. I mean, I think we certainly could try removing the depender bot, but if Federico's offering to have a look at a few more of them, we'll try and get them closed out. I mean, there's a kind of aspect of some of them, have the upgrade means that things break, and there's that, like, for some of them there are easy merges potentially. Others, they could be much more involved, and for some of them, so it may be difficult to get large numbers of them closed out. And then there's always more. Basically, in principle, every time a new thing comes out, we get more of them. So it may be that we don't have the resources in the project to handle dependable updates. But anyway, I know it would be great to get more people working on this project. Hopefully, some of my pairings with people will help pull in more stuff on that. What's the other thing? Website one is the project that most people click through on. I think there's certainly room to improve the website one. Like, so here, what we see from the analytics is that the majority of people click through on website one here once they start, looking for projects. I think this page could have a lot less text and a lot more images, but So yeah, I have actually spent quite a lot of this week working on the performance. I've thrown up a static landing page, just which is middleman, because I'm sort of thinking, can we get away with that? And the difficulty is really that, and what my analysis is showing is that when we load the homepage, and the homepage receives the most stuff. This is the place that we're sending people from the ad campaigns. According to the New Relic monitoring, the majority of the time is spent on here. The particular challenge that we have is that this, there's basically, apart from all the templates, which is trivial, every time we load this page, we on the fly dynamically use the IceCube recurrence gem to work out when the next event is going to be. And what my analysis is telling me is that that's kind of our key bottleneck for the system, if you know what I mean. I think the performance issues that we're seeing, intermittent as they are basically related to us running out of memory. We can see if I can just find the graph. We can see over time, I think I've got it over here. Yeah, here it is. We can see over time this is the memory usage over time that we start with. Why don't you scroll up and down? Go on, thank you. The starting state is less than half a gig, but basically under continual input, and let's say the main load is people landing on the home page, the memory goes up and up and up, and it gets to the point where it's then having to swap memory in and out using the swap space, which is slower. Eventually, the app gets to the point where it kind of restarts, and then with the cycle continues. So sometimes when people go to the site, it's relatively performant because it's down here. Other times, it's up here and it's struggling. The sort of, we could throw money at the problem by asking for more memory from Heroku, but will just make there's nothing to suggest that it won't just kind of keep going up until it hits that point. It sort of implies that there's some sort of memory leak in that process of repeatedly using the IceCube gem. Conceivably updating the IceCube gem might help us with that. What it occurs to me is that for the app to be really performant, like assuming that we want the site to show the time, when the next event is coming up, what the ideal design would be that when people edit events, what they would do is the system would write out like the individual events to like a events table, which contained not events and that recurred, but like these, like a calendar. You know what I mean? So that when we needed to look up when the next event was, we could always just read that from the database rather than having to run a computation through the gem to work out the different recurrences and work out which thing came next. Does that make any sense?
Yes, but I was thinking of something like that, but the potential issue is how would it deal with the recurring events, and then how would it? I guess that's the main issue: is how would it deal with the recurring events?
Right. So the way that I would imagine it working is we would have an events table, and you would have in that table you'd have something like a root event, right? Which would be or even probably better than having the you'd have the events table which would have root events. I mean, even the way to do it would be we then have event instances, so that data about recurrence wouldn't be restored. So this would include data about recurring behavior. You could still use the ice cube gem, but then what we would do is this would consist of, so say that we had, e.g. every Thursday event. Can't spell. Every Thursday. And then what this would have is, so say that in the table you've got your events and then this is the dates. So they'd be, right, okay, this is Thursday, I don't know, the 5th of June, right? And so we have an event on that day. And then this is like Thursday, what would it be? It would be like the 12th of June. And this would be, so this would, and this, so this is root event. And e.g. every Thursday, this is like, let's call it ID 6 every Thursday. And so then this would have dates and it would have like root event ID. And this would be 6 and this would be 6.
Right,
okay.
I understand that.
Okay. So that's how we would handle recurring events. At the moment, what we're doing is we're taking this information, we're pulling that into Ruby in the memory of the thing, and we're working out on the fly for every single one of the 10,000 users who arrives during the course of the month through our AdWords campaign.
So my question would be still, would we have, say we put an event in, right? Mm-hmm. Say with this new system, I go there and I create an event for data mining or whatever.
Yep.
And it's every Thursday, like you said.
Well, let's make a new one. Let's say that's every Friday, whatever. Yeah.
Every Friday, so.
Yeah.
Forever.
Okay.
So it would come in and it would say Friday the 6th of June.
Right.
And then Friday the 13th of June.
Mm-hmm.
So there would have to be some horizon on that, right?
There would have to be a horizon, yes.
And then what would you do? Have like some task that runs every week?
Yeah, basically to update the following week.
And then anytime we edited the event,
right,
it would need to basically go in and figure out, like it would pull all those event IDs and be like, which one of these need to change?
Yeah, so like basically if you're
complicated some complicated logic to keep that table in line.
Well, right, but it wouldn't have to be that complicated, because all it needs to do, right, say that we're editing this
call,
right, is it basically we delete all of the event instances that have, that are in the future,
and then call
the ice cube and say, right, here are all the new ones.
The next 2 weeks worth of events.
Right, and so that we've set it to finish now in 2 weeks, or I mean there would have to be a threshold after which no events are seen in the event instances table.
Right.
And we would need to ensure that whenever we sort of extended the thresholds, so we'd have to have a scheduled
task.
Yeah, scheduled
run that thing.
Task to extend thresholds at some frequency. But it's not, I mean, not more logic than we have now, in as much as when we go to the events things, we impose a threshold on what we display.
So the thing that I would say is this is basically a win based on the premise that people, for our performance of our overall site, this is a win because in our monolith, the frequency of editing events is much less than the frequency of hitting the landing page.
Absolutely. And I think, in addition, your expectation about which should be fast and slow, like if you're editing an event, if that takes 5 seconds,
That's maybe.
You know, but you're already invested in the system,
Right.
and you're doing an operation which is like
you're like an admin, right?
Right, and I mean, you know, you're thinking about, what do I want to do this, and like the time that it takes you to work out exactly how you want your event specified is of the order of minutes anyway, before you get to the point where you hit the submit button, and then, you know, you're not at a point where you're saying, right, and now tell me what I can do with events. Like, you're already like completely committed. Whereas people who are landing on the landing page for the first time,
right,
they're like, okay, what's this site about? If the landing page takes 5 seconds to load, they've gone somewhere else.
So it's because it's their first impression, right?
Yeah, it's their first impression, and
we
then
want their first impression to be great.
Absolutely, and also there's like their second, fifth, 25th, and so on. I mean, I think I can see, you know, this overall performance issue is affecting other parts of the site when it's out of memory, and so like I'm trying to start a scrum, but the event, I can't load the event page, you know, or it crashes when it comes up. I mean, all of this is on the assumption that I've correctly analyzed the underlying problem. And
so
go on.
I'm just thinking of how we would test whether you correctly analyze the underlying problem. Just take that.
Well,
just take the link off the front page and see if.
Yeah, well, what I've also done is I've got set up with Loader.io, which allows us to run performance tests on staging. And what I could do is I could create a branch which doesn't have that thing.
Doesn't have that front link, and just see if it's like much better.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing in particular is that we actually have that in the application. Oh, that's the wrong app, but that's local support. In the application controller, we have like a before filter that like does that query. So I mean, yeah, obviously I have to take it out properly. So there's, you know, the action item I think kind of clearly needs to be, which is like, is performance analysis correct? The other thing that, when I look at this, is it feels like this is a pretty major refactoring of how the system works. And I wonder about, you know, would it be easier to do it starting over? I guess probably not, actually. As I think about using an event, like if we use the event instances table that we have, then maybe we can do it with the existing system. I mean, it's still going to be, if we did do it, I mean, it's still a fairly major piece of work.
Maybe 2 days worth of work.
I think it's
like 2 days,
full
2
time.
full days.
Yeah, and maybe more, because the current way the system is set up, there's a lot of convoluted stuff in there. But yeah, I mean,
there could be a lot of interaction with other queries we're running elsewhere.
I think there's a lot of different bits and pieces. But I mean, I think even if I'm thinking like it might be 5 or 10 days, you know, to get it, you know, really sorted and out there. I mean, there's also migrating the production data and all this stuff. Anyway, there's clearly, I shouldn't worry about that too much until we've. So this is like load testing on staging with event grab removed from homepage.
Do you want to do a ticket on that? Do you want to do a vote on that? Just to get a vote on the performance analysis, or no?
I think, I mean, I've got I've got an ongoing ticket on that.
Do you want to vote on it, or?
Well, I mean, I've kind of set up like Loader.io, and I'm running these tests, and we've got the like I think checking that. So we've got this. You know, I'm doing it as part of 1826. I think. I don't think we need to vote on like how difficult it is to actually check the assumption. Although I'd certainly love to hear if people think what anything about what Michael or I have said sounds flawed in any place, I would love to hear Sigu's and Federico's opinions.
Probably we're just talking in gibberish.
It's sort of a given.
No, so I followed it, everything there. You know, I'm not super familiar with the code base as well as you guys are, so I can't really provide an in-depth response. But it sounds like you guys are on the right track, and you know, I just would agree that with that. Note that the first impressions is a little more important to load faster. I mean, even for myself, I don't like it when it takes a little while to load.
Totally. Hey, Sigu.
Listening along, and I did basically what Will was talking about, just listening in. So that's what I've been doing in. I've understood what you were talking about and your analysis of the problem. I don't know. I wonder how you're planning to do the load testing. How do you normally do that?
Well, I don't think that there's a normally, because we haven't done it before. But what I have done, what I have been doing this week, is I have added this loader IO thing as a plug-in to Heroku, and so I get this dashboard, and this is I ran 250 requests over 1 minute on staging, and this is the response times going up as the memory goes up in parallel.
Right.
So I can basically hit the front page with as much or as little load as I want. So what I would do is, I think, maybe make some more experimental changes, push those in there, and see if we can get better performance out of it. We also have monitoring, these metrics here, so I can monitor the behavior of the system while I'm running the load test.
Okay, thanks for that information. So if you remove that and it doesn't have an effect, then you look for the next thing.
Yeah, then we have to revise the initial hypothesis. And what we could even do before that is, I've just noticed that one of the things that Dependabot has done is it suggested it can bump IceCube from this version to this version.
Yeah.
So we could, I wonder here, what I could do is I could even push, like, it would be an interesting to see, like, if IceCube has improved in performance, I might even run the load test on this first before taking things out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering now if I can pull in this branch somehow. I could actually
pull that into a branch.
I mean, I think conceivably, like, if I go here, anyway, I'm at risk of running off into the weeds here, because I feel like I can actually kick off a performance test before the AV community meeting starts. A little bit. I think we've covered all the items in the meeting. I really appreciate everybody's input. I think this is an important thing for the, going forward. Maybe the last thing to do today is, why is my computer not working? Does anybody want to grab tickets from the waffle board, or bring up anything from the waffle board at all?
I haven't looked through. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Good.
Oh, all right. I haven't looked through the board, so unless you have a suggestion on which issue I can pick up on.
Yeah.
But personally, I haven't got.
Yeah, no worries. And I would say, I was going to say there. I was going to say, yeah. I mean that Jitsi thing that we started looking at together is potentially good, but you do have all the components to do that. But it's you know, it's a bit of a weird one, but still extremely valuable.
All right.
The I need a cup of tea. My voice is starting to go. I tell you, there are things in the ready column that would also be. So we've got this one here. This is like install Jitsi Meet on Azure, which the two of us.
Just aside.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, you can assign me to that also, so we get it out before I think of any other thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oops. I mean, although I think this is an easy one to get. Oh gosh, what's it doing? Can you? And my computer's had enough. It says it was a holiday too. But I'll just mention the things here, like being able to support bi-weekly events and being able to kind of update the like have it so the front page is a countdown timer and adjust the timers. These are all valuable things to work on. If you're looking for another ticket, and then they're not. See, these are 2s and 2s and 1s there. If you wanted to do coding rather than DevOps, which is what this one is, feel free to look at any of these 3 tickets at the top of the ready column.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. So I'm just in the background there. I see that I've actually all of the Dependabot branches have come down onto my system. And I'm trying to work out how to check out the IceCube one, but I don't know, it won't kind of let me. It
says origin /.
It does, but usually I can omit the origin and then it just creates a local branch that's a copy of it for me. Maybe just the odd other stuff in there. Yeah, okay, and then git checkout -b. This is
IceCube or something.
Yeah.
And then just push that to staging it.
But then I could do git push.
Oh, you got a buy bug in there.
I just removed it.
Oh, that's your unstaged. Okay.
Yeah, and then if I do git, I probably need to do rebase develop. Yeah. Okay. Git push staging. IceCube master. I can force start IceCube.
You probably need a -f in there.
I don't think that I. Well,
you don't need a force anymore to push a non-master to Heroku.
Not a non-master. If it's, I think that here, what I've done with the rebase is it's just this has got like a normal non-breaking change, and I put the develop in underneath it, and so I think it doesn't. It's matching with what the commit history on what was staging already. It's just jumping at one.
Oh, it's like, okay, you pulled it, you rebased it in.
Yeah. So what I can do once that's up is I can what have I done somewhere here? I've got my oh yeah, gosh, and this was oh gosh, yeah. So once that's done, there I can kick off this response. We can see the 3 tests that I've done and their average times. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go and make a cup of tea, and maybe I'll have the results of that experiment ready for the AV community meeting.
What time does that start, Sam?
In 18 minutes from now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good to see you all. Bye for now.
Bye.